TEP production. Giving out instruction. I just keep it intact, this is a fact, right and exact, I won't step back. Admiration is the feeling that inspires your brain to make you gain self-knowledge, not go insane. I'm Satan's antagonist, acknowledge what I speak. I cannot be duplicated cause I'm born unique. Brother Kareem told me if I want it, I gotta take it. Kareem told me if we need it, we gotta make it. Nasir just said stand up and be a man. You're planning to fail if you fail to plan. Keep your circle tight, know your plight, fight with all your might, study hard, stay in shape and everything will be alright.
This beat is slapping, before I make it happen I just wanna ask, may I rise higher with fire, made brighter than May sharp lines, may climb and rhyme and may timing like sirens, may my thoughts may spray as I sway, may play with the day, may each bar may spark from the dark, may making the arc, may I shift, may gifted with riffs, may lifted no myth, may move clean, smooth in between, may carving out the scene, may words guide my glide as the tide, may ride on the inside, may minds free, may deep in the key, may shape in the sea, may I shine, may prime in my rhyme, may throw in the sign, may break norms, may storms in the red form, may lightning is born.
Let's go.
Get your copy of Fire. It's definitely a must-read. If you enjoy hood books, this one is it. Just like the title of the book, it's officially Fire. Get it on Amazon, paperback or Kindle.
I don't know how I got here. I just know I'm never going back. Just when I thought things were already crazy, it gets worse.
I'm back.
Quan?
Sapphire struggles to deal with her husband's alleged betrayal and coming to terms with Quan being alive after thinking he was deceased. Devante tries to keep a level head while dealing with family issues and unexpected disloyalty. Memories of Dre enters Devante's life in a way that he would have never imagined.
Fire Part 2, the finale.
Peace. This is the enemy's public, and I am Bro.Nasir. This evening, we're going to do an update of a story that I covered about 3 years ago. Exactly 3 years ago. Peace to my brother, Big Dog Philly OG. Yes, it's a story I covered exactly 3 years ago, where a Asian man down in South Carolina shot a 14-year-old boy in the back because he suspected him of stealing 4 bottles of water. The young man had put the water back and ran out the store. And because they wanted to catch him and put him on this wall of shame, because they had a lot of people on this wall of shame in that convenience store, the young man ran and they chased him. And the father, it was two. It was a son and a father. They chased him, and because they couldn't catch him, the father shot him in the back, taking the young brother's life. His life was worth less than four bottles of water. His life was less, it was worth less than four bottles of water in Rick Chow's sentiment. You can't say that you were defending yourself after you initiate the aggression. He was chasing the young man. Well, not young man, it was a little boy. I call him young man because that's what we say. But there was a boy, 14 years old. And he's not with us today because of a racist Asian. He was racist. And this is why I say we have to stop patronizing people's businesses who don't like us. If they give us any inclination, any disrespect, I don't care what demand that they are supplying. We need to find it somewhere else where the people will be more respectful to us. If someone give us a cold attitude, if someone give us a disrespectful demeanor, we shouldn't give them our business. We shouldn't make them suffice their lives with our money and they don't respect us. I don't care who it is, a bodega, a beauty salon, a beauty supply store, a grocery store. If you go in and they don't give us respect, we walk out never to return. Now, this store was shut down by the people because he took the life of someone in the community. So the people said, well, your business is done. Though he was arrested and he's on trial now. And that is what we're going to cover this evening. I hope everyone's enjoying their evening. Again, his life was worth less than four bottles of water. The South Carolina murder trial gets underway. A panel of 12 jurors begin hearing evidence they'll later ponder in determining the fate of a former convenience store owner accused of gunning down a 14-year-old boy 3 years ago. Following a day of with vetting and selecting jurors for trial, the state of South Carolina versus Rick Chow began with opening statements Wednesday morning, that's yesterday, amid a packed courtroom inside the Richland County Courthouse. Escorted in by the bailiff and quietly seated, the jury panel, mixed with young and middle-aged men and women of various races, first directed their attention to Circuit Court Judge Heath Taylor, who advised the jurors and their role in the proceeding while also explaining their parameters. The group then returned to the Fifth Circuit Solicitor Byron Gibson as he began telling a story a little after 10 a.m. What is the value of human life? Gibson asked jurors. Rick Chow, the defendant in the case, determined that Cyrus Carmack Belton's life was worth less than four bottles of water. In May 2023, Chow was charged with murder after he and his son, Andy Chow, chased Carmack Belton from a Shell gas station located at 7441 Park Lane Road after falsely suspecting the 14-year-old had stolen water from there. At issue in the case is whether Chow acted in self-defense or the defense of his son, where he used a 45 caliber Glock handgun to fire a single shot into the back of Cormac Belton, fatally wounding him. This means that the man, if he can fire a single shot from a distance, whether it's a distance or not, but according to what I've seen on the video, it was from a distance. He fired a single shot with a 45 caliber Glock handgun into the back of Cormac Belton, fatally wounding him. Last November, Chow was denied immunity in the teen's death under South Carolina Stand Your Ground law, where Circuit Court Judge Scott Sprouse ruled the store owner was not acting in self-defense when he pursued and shot the teen. You pursued him, so how can you say you acted in self-defense when you pursued the teen? Still, a group of powerhouse defense lawyers for Chow, including Jack Swerling, Sean Kent, and Joe McCulloch, maintained their client was feared for his life and in the life of his son when he fired the fatal shot. Again, you cannot pursue a person. You can't be the aggressor. You cannot pursue a person and then say you acted in self-defense. You are initiating the aggression. So you cannot say you acted in self-defense when you were the aggressor. That's what Caucasian people do. That's what white people do. They would start a fight, and when somebody rock their knot, they pull out a gun and shoot them and say they acted in self-defense. They fear for their life. A person that fears for their life don't go to danger. They run away from danger. Now, this man who was in his 50s shot a child in the back as the child ran away from him. Now, I don't believe that you were here during the course of this trial while 14-year-old was illegally carrying a fully loaded semi-automatic pistol with one in the chamber and equipped with a laser. Swerling told jurors during his opening remarks, regardless, if the young man was carrying a gun, if he was carrying a gun and didn't pull that gun out, they still can't say it was self-defense. Still can't say that. And especially if you were pursuing him. It turned out that the little boy did not steal anything. He was falsely charged, that hurry up and buy thing that they do when we come in their stores. Hurry up and buy, following us around when we go into their stores. I fault the little brother for going in the store in the first place because I'm quite certain that he probably held people at gunpoint and took their pictures and put their picture on the wall because he have a gun for a reason. He wanted to shoot somebody. He was going to end up shooting somebody with that gun regardless. If it wasn't the little brother Carmack, it was going to be somebody else. He was going to end up killing somebody with that gun. What was a 14-year-old doing walking around Columbia with a semi-automatic 9mm weapon with a bullet in the chamber? Illegally walking into stores that bars people from coming in with weapons. That's not even that's irrelevant. That is totally irrelevant. The state's first witness was former Richmond County Sheriff Deputy Derek English, who was the first on the scene of the shooting and the first to interview Chow and Andy. English testified during both Chow's immunity hearing and trial on Wednesday that at no time did Chow nor Andy advise that Cormac Belton pointed a gun at Andy prior to Chow firing. So they never told the police. They never told the police that the young brother had a gun. they probably got the gun out of discovery. And now they're going to use that as the defense. And you can't do that. The judge is going to tell them they can't use that. If you found out he had a gun through discovery, you can't use that. Because when the sheriff questioned Chow, Andy, and Rick, they never stated that he had a gun. They said he stole something. Turned out the boy had nothing. When they searched the bag, he didn't have waters in his bag. The boy didn't even have no water. And again, if that boy stole a 6-pack of water, his life is worth more than that. In fact, evidence presented last November and Wednesday showed Chow never saw a gun in Cormac's Belton hand, but rather was only alerted to the weapon by his son, Andy. He never saw it. Besides English, jurors heard from several other witnesses, including Lorianne Carson, who told jurors that she witnessed Chow and Andy chasing Cormac Belton as she was pulling into the gas station parking lot to grab a beverage. He looked frightened and scared, she said, just like a child who was in trouble, adding that she didn't see anything in the teen's hands as he was running away. Fighting back to hold tears, Carson said that she was concerned by the chase and felt guilty after seeing Cormac Belton laying on his back, gurgling for air. I don't know CPR, so I couldn't help him. And that bothers me to this day, she said. The grandmother of 8 told jurors, all I could do was remove the leaves from his mouth and stay with him, she said in tears. And this cold ass Asian man took this little brother's life and didn't feel absolutely no remorse. No remorse. Now, what's expected in the coming of days, with both sides planning to call a series of witnesses, including experts, the trial could easily bleed into next week. It's unclear whether Chow, who remained silent during his November immunity hearing, would testify in his defense. Besides Gibson, the state is represented by Senior Assistant Solicitor Dale Scott and Assistant Solicitor Stephanie Taylor and Weston Leifer. If convicted, Rick Chow faces a minimum of 30 years in prison, and he should do every bit of that. I think he should do life in prison. A grown man chasing down a 14-year-old and gunning him down in the back. He's even older than George Zimmerman, and the victim is even younger than Trayvon Martin. Just running down our children, shooting our children in the back. I don't care if he did steal something. Nothing in that store is worth more than that young brother's life. Now I'm going to do a video presentation that's consistent with what I'm talking about. And I'm going to share my screen. I covered this when it first happened 3 years ago. But, they want laws to protect them when they attack us. And I don't think we need nobody to establish a law. We need to establish that ourselves. If you attack one of us and you kill our children, you better go. You better leave, period. You better get up out of here.
This case dates back to Memorial Day weekend of 2023, when investigators say a confrontation over suspected shoplifting turned deadly. May 28th, 2023. Authorities say 14-year-old Cyrus Carmack Belton was shot down the street from a convenience store on Park Lane Road after store owner Rick Chow suspected him of shoplifting bottled water. Investigators say Chow and his son chased Cyrus toward the Springtree Apartments, where Chow fired a shot into the teen's back, killing him. The next day, Richland County Sheriff Leon Lott addressed the public.
We're charging the owner of the store, Rick Chow, with murder.
Chow turned himself in that afternoon. That same day, the community gathered to protest and hold a vigil near the shooting scene as people mourned Cyrus's death.
Stop for a moment of silence for this young brother's life.
Overnight, the Shell gas station was ransacked and vandalized.
It's going to break you to lose water. It's just unbelievable.
On June 2nd and 3rd, Cyrus's family held a viewing and funeral.
It's not unbelievable because it constantly happens. It's upsetting, it's sad, but it's not unbelievable. This dynamic has to change. They do this because there's no repercussion, there's no consequence, and they don't fear anything from their behavior. Shooting a 14-year-old should come with dire consequences on every level, with every level. A judge, a prosecutor, and it more than likely they should let Rick Chow have it. They should let him have it in that courtroom when this trial, I know it's rolling now, but once they start presenting evidence and they start cross-examining, and I hope he do testify in this in his defense. I hope Chow do testify so that prosecutor can eat his ass up, because when he get up there and he show no remorse, that's going to say just how cold and racist this bastard is.
I'm just heartbroken with the whole situation. Like, I really and truly am. This is devastating.
Over the next 2 years, Chow's attorneys filed multiple motions, challenging evidence, requesting bond, and arguing self-defense under South Carolina's Stand Your Ground law. The family also filed a civil lawsuit against Chow and related business entities. Bond was denied in 2023, and subsequent requests were also rejected.
Every day I wake up knowing that I will never see my son again. I'll never be able to receive one of his loving type hugs. I'll never hear his voice that was just starting to get deeper. I'll never see him graduate high school or go to prom.
In November of 2025, a judge denied Chow's Stand Your Ground defense, clearing the way for the case to move to trial. In April and May of this year, Judge Heath Taylor also denied several other defense requests, including efforts to delay the trial. Now, nearly 3 years after Cyrus Carmack Belton's death, the case is entering its next phase, with jury selection set to begin Tuesday in Richland County. And the court has called a large jury pool for selection. I'll be inside the courtroom tomorrow morning, bringing you those updates as proceedings get underway. Reporting live, Kiki Gushu, News 19, WLTX.
So let's move on to the next video. Now, this is video of him being questioned by the police, of Chow being questioned by the police.
Chai Key Rick Chow, the defendant in this case, determined that Cyrus Carmack Belton's life was worth less than 4 bottles of water.
Well, thank you so much for joining us here for Friends at 5 here on air and also over on WLTX Plus, our streaming platform. I'm Erica Glover. We're going to start off with continuing coverage and another live look right here on your screen inside the courtroom for the Rick Chow murder trial. Rick Chow is charged for the murder of 14-year-old Cyrus Carmack Belton. Investigators say back in 2023, Chow chased the teenager after suspecting him of shoplifting bottled water. And again, you're taking a live look inside the courtroom as we speak. But investigators say it was later determined that teenager did not shoplift bottled water. Investigators also say Chow fired a shot into the 14-year-old's back, ultimately killing him. Kiki Gushu is joining us after spending the day inside of that courtroom. Listen in.
See, the police, when they arrived on the scene, it was determined that the young brother stole nothing, and he died for absolutely nothing.
Rick Chow murder trial is continuing this afternoon in Richland County with emotional testimony from a woman who witnessed the chase and rushed to help 14-year-old Cyrus Carmack Belton after the shooting. Jurors heard from Lori Ann Carson, who testified she saw Cyrus running down Springtree Drive while Rick Chow and his son chased after him. Carson told the court she never saw a gun in Cyrus's hands and said he looked scared and in trouble as he ran. She became emotional describing the moments after the shooting, telling jurors she helped clear Cyrus's airways while CPR was being performed. Family members in the courtroom also visibly reacted during her testimony. Earlier today, jurors watched body camera video from the first Richland County Sheriff's deputy to arrive on scene that night. The video showed deputies recovering a gun, a shell casing, and a backpack while investigators secured the scene. Now, the defense continues to argue Rick Chow fired to protect his son, focusing on testimony about the gun found at the scene and whether it was ready to fire. The state continues to argue surveillance video shows Cyrus put the water back before leaving that shell station, and that testimony so far does not support claims that he pointed a gun before he was shot. Court is on the afternoon break, and I'll be bringing you more updates this evening.
This lady giving us news from the elevator. Sounds like it anyway.
All right, Kiki, thank you so much for that update there. And earlier today, News 19's Christy Calcagno, she sat down with defense attorney John Mobley to go ahead and provide an in-depth analysis about day one of the trial. Have a listen here.
One thing you also mentioned before we get into the first testimony is needing more emotion than the facts from both sides. Can you elaborate?
I agree, and hey, I like everybody, but I'm not going to pull any punches. I think from the prosecution standpoint, I believe that they kind of dropped the ball on not humanizing the young man. We don't know anything about him. We know he was 14. We don't know where he went to school. We don't know what his hobbies were. We don't know what sports he played, what kind of student he was. He really needed to humanize that young man so the jurors would somehow empathize with him. He needed to bring him to life. On the flip side,
that's the truth, because this is what white people do to the most wicked of their people. They attempt to humanize them. They may take a picture with their children, or they might take a picture cuddling with their dog, their pet. Put them in a suit, knowing they don't wear, they don't regularly wear suits, but put them in a suit, shave their hair to make them look more boyish if it's a boy. Make them, or if it's a man, cut their hair and well groom them. That's what they do. They attempt to humanize the most wicked of their people after they have done an evil act.
Side, I think the defense was a little bit too callous and too insensitive to the fact that a 14-year-old child was shot and killed. I mean, there didn't seem to be any real expression of that this is a tragedy. Your client can be not guilty and this still be a tragedy. And I think I think that where the defense maybe dropped the ball is failing to acknowledge that a young 14-year-old lost his life, and no matter what happens, that is still a tragedy. So correct. I believe those are two areas where they both could have been more sensitive.
And of course, News 19 will continue tracking this entire trial with extensive coverage, including live streaming from inside the courtroom, daily recaps, breaking news updates, and in-depth analysis. We are here to keep you up to date. Download our free News 19 app right now by scanning the QR code right here on your screen on the right-hand side. That way you can watch anytime and anywhere.
Now, this next video is shows moments before Cyrus Carmack Belton was. This is him inside the convenience store. And I guess one of them walked around and, from my understanding, it was the wife. She did the hurry up and buy shit that they do when we come in their stores, and alerted the husband that he stole 4 bottles of water when he hadn't stole anything. I guess there's other footage where they're going to show the incident. Here's the woman doing the hurry up and buy, acting like she's doing something, but she's really watching him. Acting like she's straightening out Doritos and potato chips.
Investigator Jordan, while we're watching that, who is this woman that we're seeing right here on the screen?
Alice Chow.
Alice Chow?
Yes.
Okay. And then the other male we've seen in the videos with the hat on backwards too?
Andy Chow.
Okay, thank you. Who is that individual?
In the plaid shirt.
In the plaid shirt.
I guess they started chasing him now.
All right, moving on to slide 10 of stakes number 4. All right, slide 11 of stakes number 4 is next. I'm gonna skip slide 11, because for now, go to slide 13 of stakes 4.
Straight up following the brother. Hurry up and buy. Hurry up and buy. Walking right behind him.
All right. Next is slide 14 of stage 4.
And this is when they started chasing him.
Let me ask you, investigator, your view of the videos, did Cyrus Carmack Belton ever brandish a firearm inside of 7441 Park Lane Road, the Shell gas station owned by Rick Chow?
He did not.
Did Cyrus Carmack Belton ever point a red laser that was attached to a Taurus pistol while he was in the Shell station at 7441 Park Lane Road?
He did not.
To your knowledge, has anybody ever said he did that?
It's in the store?
In the store?
No, no one.
I want to go down to slide 15 of states number 4.
You can clearly see that the young man had nothing on him. You gonna put 4 bottles of water where? Where could he have put 4 bottles of water?
Next is slide 16 of states number 4. Okay. State 17.
They actually confronted him. He had nothing, and he just ran, got up out of there, and they chased him. Something that they tell people not to do. You're not supposed to chase someone. You're supposed to call the police and give a direction in which they ran, not chase them down with a gun and shoot them and kill them.
Or slide 17 of states number 4.
What was that boy supposed to do when you got 2 people chasing them besides Ryan? There were 2 people chasing him, that big ass boy Andy and the father. And the father had a gun. The father shot him.
Moving on to states, or slide 18 of states number 4. Do you agree with it? There was multiple angles that you were able to review of the same incident.
That is correct.
Next on my list is slide 19 of states number 4. Okay. Slide 20, states number 4. Next is slide 21, states number 4.
He walked out of the store very casual. More than likely, he didn't start running till he noticed that they were chasing him. That's when he started running. We're going to see this right here, in this frame right here.
Did you ever recover? Did you ever see the shoe that popped off of him in that slide?
When I went back to the store, it was on the counter along with 2 cell phones.
Okay. And who had collected those cell phones and that shoe?
Alice Chow.
And she had taken it from the scene and brought it back to the gas station?
That is correct.
Do you know if she took any other evidence from the scene?
I do not.
Okay. But the crime scene was unable.
She need to be on trial too. She taking shit off the boy.
To collect the shoes and the cell phones from where they were originally found because Alice Chow had already moved them.
That is correct.
All right, I'm going to skip a couple here and do slide 24 of states number 4. Slide. Slide 25 of states number 4. What would that just depict?
Miss Chow with the shoe and 2 cell phones.
This was cold and this was malicious. To take property off the young boy after he was shot by her husband, she took things off him and brought it back to the store. This is cold and malicious.
Going now to slide 31 of stage 4, which is these videos kind of stitched together as Justin Martin described before.
That's okay. That needs to put on the ice cream check. Yep.
They started watching him as soon as he walked in the store. As soon as he walked in the store, and he put his book bag up front. I guess they're one of those stores that don't allow people to come in with book bags. I don't see, nothing wrong with that, but they're doing surveillance on him. As soon as he walked in, they start physically watching him. You can clearly see that boy put that water back. Clearly. And what was he going to put the water at? Where? She was on him and he was on him. Andy Chow and Alice Chow was on him all the time. He was there. How was he able to do that? And then they confronted him and see that he don't have anything on him. Definitely don't have it in the bag because she made him put the bag away before he went into the store. They shot that boy from a distance because he was way ahead of them. He was way ahead of them. He shot that boy from a distance. Because if you see how he ran away and then they came like a while after he, in that camera view, a while after he went past that camera view. So he was a distance from them. That man, more than likely, practicing his aim, took aim and shot that little boy in his back, meaning to kill him. He meant to kill him. He wanted to kill him.
Let me show you a couple pictures. This is states 67 to 68. You recognize those just to be screenshots from videos?
They are.
See 70, 71, you recognize those to be screenshots from the videos of flash?
Yes, they are.
Okay. Now, the state offers states 67, 68 for emission in the evidence.
Yeah, I think a screenshot from what they already put in on the.
Oh, they're already in?
Well, there are videos that they just played that screenshot from the video.
All right.
And then also 70, 71 for emission in evidence.
All right. States 67, 68, 70, 71, and without that.
So let me show you 61, 60. You recognize those also to be just screenshots from videos with flash?
Yes, they are.
And what about 63 and 66?
Yes, they are.
Okay. Now the state offers states 61, 62, 63, and 66 for emission to evidence. Okay.
Mr. Scott, may I see those, not those two, the two that that are still in front of me? Just make sure I don't need to renew mine, okay. You know, just, no objection, but just renew a pre-trial objection.
Sure. All right. Then we'll be making as states 61, 62, 63, and 66, subject to pre-trial.
Thank you. Let me put up states 63. All right. Investigator Jordan, 25 years in law enforcement. Have you had occasion to handle a case where you had video or a picture of a suspect that you were trying to identify?
Yes, I have.
Okay. And is it common to eventually identify subjects based on surveillance video or photography for that matter?
It's very common.
And is it helpful if you have high definition video or screenshots of an individual?
Yes, it is.
Is it helpful in your experience to have good descriptions of the clothing they're wearing?
Yes.
Okay. Would it be helpful in a case like this, if you're trying to identify somebody who is suspected of shoplifting, to be able to do freeze frames, to be able to reverse, to be able to zoom in on their picture? Would that be helpful in identifying them?
Yes, it would.
Okay. Let me ask you this. If you were looking for a suspect and they were accused of something, and you had the video footage of them from multiple angles, you said that would be helpful. What if you had their shoe? Would that be helpful?
Yes, it would.
What sorts of things could you do if a suspect left their shoe behind at a scene and you were trying to identify them?
DNA or fingerprints.
You could request DNA or fingerprints?
Yes.
All right. What if a suspect, you had multiple camera angles of their face, high definition videos of their face, you had their shoe? What if they left behind 2 cell phones? Would that help you in identifying that person if they did commit a crime? Would that be helpful to you?
Yes, it would.
Have you ever responded, or has your department ever responded to a call for service to a convenience store because there was a complaint of shoplifting?
Yes.
And is that common?
Unfortunately, yes.
But that's your job. Is that not the sheriff's department's job to respond to calls for service if somebody is accused of theft at the store?
It is.
And is it your job to investigate if you were called to a convenience store for the crime of shoplifting?
Yes, it is.
Do you have any knowledge of your department instructing employees or owners of convenience stores to follow suspected shoplifters and chase them down?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Not that you're aware of. Have you ever heard of anybody in your department instructing anybody to do that?
No.
You familiar with facial recognition technology?
I am.
And what is that? Investigator Jordan, do you think it would be, you would have some tools to work with if you had gotten a call, this guy, this boy right here, it's stolen? Do you think you would have some tools to help identify him
Yes.
and investigate whether or not he had stolen water?
Yes.
Do you feel confident law enforcement could have handled this?
Absolutely.
In a tragic incident, a 14-year-old boy named
This, it's not the job of the store owner or his son and wife or employees to chase down shoplifters. As someone who used to do asset protection, they told us they didn't want us going outside of the store. If a person left, you can look and see which direction they're going in and have law enforcement go in that direction. And you just give a description of that person. And if law enforcement bring them back to you, if that's the person, you just identify them. That's what we were taught. And once that person's outside the store. And then it became a time when they told us they don't want us apprehending anyone when it came to shoplifting. They didn't want us doing it. But especially past the point of sale, which is when something is stolen. Nothing is stolen until it's past the point of sale. Even if they have it concealed in a bag and they're still in the store, if it's not past the point of sale, it is not yet stolen. It has to be past the point of sale, meaning at the door, past the cash registers, meaning that they don't have any intentions of paying for whatever they have concealed. Because salute to my brother, Marco Power. Salute to you, good brother. Good seeing you. Because a lot of people shop with shopping bags. Some people don't use shopping carts. They use shopping bags. They put their, whatever they're shopping for into a bag, take it up to the register, then they purchase it and put it back in the bag. Take it out of the bag, purchase it, scan it, then put it back in the bag. So nothing is stolen until it's past the point of sale. If it's not past the point of sale, it's not yet stolen. So you can't accuse someone of stealing anything until it's past the point of sale. But this young man didn't have anything. Again, they made him leave his bag up front. And then when he went to go up front, like as he was leaving, they confronted him. And it's obvious. You can see, you can look and you can see that he had nothing on him. He grabbed his bag and walked out of the store casually. And then they gave chase. Andy's big. That's a big old boy. And his father, he's not that big, but they started chasing him. It's one little boy, 14 years old, probably frightened. So he ran. They chased him down, and when they couldn't catch him, the father shot him and took his life because he had a distance on them.
In a tragic incident, a 14-year-old boy named Cyrus Carmack Belton was shot and killed by a South Carolina convenience store owner who suspected him of shoplifting. The owner, identified as Rick Chow, confronted the boy without any evidence of theft. Richland County Sheriff Leon Lott stated that the shooting was intentional and not accidental. Firearms account for nearly 19% of childhood deaths in the U.S., surpassing car accidents. According to the CDC, the shooting sparked protests for justice, followed by the looting and vandalism of the store. Chow has been arrested and charged with murder, while deputies guard the store to prevent further damage.
I just want to remind people what the sheriff said. He said he did not shoplift anything. We have no evidence that he stole anything whatsoever. That's not something that you shoot anybody over, much less a 14-year-old.
Yeah.
I think that sums it up.
Yeah.
I think that sums up exactly, how tight this case is, and we hope that justice is served. But this was
that does sum it up. He had nothing in his book bag, and because for one, he didn't have the book bag on him. He grabbed the book bag as he was leaving the store because they made him leave it up front. And if he did have something, if he did have 4 waters, his life is worth a lot more than some damn water. That little boy's life was taken because he was suspected of stealing something. No evidence of it, just suspected.
A 58-year-old man who we'd like to think knew better. This young boy was running away and he shot him in the back. And, we've heard this story again and again and again. And so hopefully he is held accountable.
Yeah, well, it's clear based upon the press conference from about a day or so ago that authorities believe that these charges are appropriate. And now that these charges have been brought about, we'll just have to keep our eye on this case and see how it plays out. And it'll probably, take a while for it to play out and hopefully get the results that reflects justice for this family.
That's right.
Yeah, he offended the whole community by shooting that little boy, taking his life over some damn water.
Tonight, the Richland County community is mourning the death of 14-year-old Cyrus Carmack Belton. That teenager was shot and killed Sunday night after a convenience store owner suspected him of stealing water. Ashley Jones joining us live tonight, where a makeshift memorial is growing. Ashley, you spoke with community members and activists today.
That's right, Judy. They are saying that the loss of Cyrus is a loss for this entire community. Take a look at this makeshift memorial that they have built just down the street from that Shell gas station. Now, this is reportedly where Cyrus was shot and killed. And as you can see, it's continuing to grow. People adding flowers, balloons, teddy bears, and even water bottles to this memorial. A trail of empty packaged water will show you where Cyrus was running from to where he was shot in the back.
It's heartbreaking.
16-year-old Kevin Snyder was one of many adding flowers to a growing makeshift memorial for Cyrus. Snyder saying this incident hits close to home.
It really could have been me.
It's absolutely correct. It could have been anybody, and it would have been anybody. He's right about that, because Rick Chow was a time bomb ticking. He went and purchased him some courage in a 45 caliber Glock. He went and purchased him a deadly weapon, and he couldn't wait to use it. And he used it on a child. And hopefully this man goes to prison for 30 years. He should get life in prison for this. He should.
Should not have to take a person's life, especially a 14-year-old. in our community.
A community now doing what they can to come together, but also outraged.
We already have one incident of a store owner, then the city and law officials need to do whatever they can to investigate that individual and make sure that it doesn't happen.
John Tyler is a community activist. He's referring to incidents like this caught on camera where the gas station owner, Rick Chow, appears to be fighting another young customer.
With this being not only his first, but his third infraction as a...
Now, the fact that he's fighting a customer is problematic itself. It lets us know that eventually he was going to kill somebody, fighting a customer, and probably more than likely false accusing customers of stealing. More than likely. If you don't come in there and you just grab something and leave, they're going to follow you. You just can't be undecided. Sometimes you go in the store and you are undecided of what you want. I know I go in the store all the time and I'm undecided what I want. And I wouldn't want anybody following me in the store. I'll walk out. After telling them off, I'll walk out. Never to return, though. I'll never go there again if somebody follow me in the store.
Store owner, me as an activist and a citizen want to know, why wasn't he stopped the second time?
District Councilwoman Gretchen Barron also coming to the gas station in Memorial, saying the community just needs to support Cyrus's family for now.
They don't have their child. That's heartbreaking to me, that they don't have their child. So I want us to be able to really wrap our arms around this family first, and allow them to heal.
And also asking for a stop to the vandalism of the now boarded up convenience store after a night of looting. The sheriff now putting extra patrol there.
But if we've got deputies here watching this building, then they're not doing their job on the street. And now we're using resources that were not intended for this project. So I just want to tell everyone, yeah, we're upset.
See, that's just the thing. It shows us that they serve and protect businesses. This is the proof that they're serving and protecting businesses. If you weigh it out, they shouldn't give a damn about this man's business against the family of the little boy who was just killed. See, they're serving and protecting. But I guarantee you, if somebody's life was in danger, they wouldn't station themselves in front of those people's house. If they was ordered to do it, they'll do it very reluctantly. Very reluctantly, they would actually guard somebody's house, and they're doing this because it's a business and it's nobody inside. But if it's somebody they had to protect, they wouldn't want to do it. But they'll protect some property though. They'll do that. Serve and protect is not us. It's property.
And we're receiving some new information from officials with the Richland County Sheriff's Department. They're now giving more details about two prior incidents or two prior confrontations involving Chow and customers. We just got this information a few minutes ago, so I'm going to read it from my phone.
Hopefully the prosecution will bring that up in the trial, that this man has a history with attacking customers.
Most latest one happening in 2018 when Chow confronted a shoplifter. That individual then assaulted Mr. Chow, and Chow fired at the assailant twice, striking him once in the leg. Now, before that incident, back in 2015, Chow attempted to stop an individual from stealing items. That individual then entered a vehicle, threatened to shoot Mr. Chow, and then Chow fired approximately 6 shots at that vehicle. Luckily, during that incident, there were no injuries.
This is what Chow probably said. Chow was saying somebody attacking him to justify his shooting. I don't believe it. I don't believe it because too many incidents where he's saying somebody did something to him, causing him to fire shots at somebody. He's lying to justify shooting at somebody. And eventually he was going to kill somebody, and he did.
We're going to continue to look into these alleged confrontations with Chow and prior customers. But for now, I want to let you know that there will be a prayer visual held at Springtree Place in that parking lot just right across the street from that gas station. That'll happen on Friday from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Reporting in Richland County, I'm Ashley.
Now we're going to get into part of the trial. I believe this is day one. I'm not going to show the entirety because it's lengthy, but we're going to keep you updated on what's going on with the trial of Rick Chow. The state of South Carolina versus Rick Chow. The convenience store killing trial. Move on a little bit. Fair use. This video is courtesy of Court TV. This video is courtesy of Court TV. Fair use. Fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, including scholarship or research. It's not an infringement of copyright. For educational purposes only, Section 107 of the United States Copyright Act. This may include news videos, articles, other YouTube videos, music videos, etc. Fair use. Guess they jiving first. I don't feel like hearing no jive. Let's go with the trial. They shouldn't start airing until things started happening.
Friends, family members, and anyone involved in the case. You must decide the case based solely on the evidence presented to you here in this courtroom. So that means during trial, you must not conduct any independent research about the case, about the law, by searching media, internet, websites, anything of that nature. After the case is submitted to you, you must discuss it only in the jury room with your fellow jurors. The attorneys and the parties in this case have been advised that they are not to talk to you at all. So if you see anyone involved in the case and they don't say hello, they're not being unfriendly, they're just following my instructions. It's important that you keep an open mind and not decide any issue in the case until all the evidence has been presented, the parties have made their closing arguments, and I have instructed you on the law. If you become aware of another juror's violation of these instructions, you must inform me immediately. In just a moment, the solicitor will make what's called an opening statement, in which the solicitor will explain to you the issues in the case, or at least what the solicitor thinks the issues are. Counsel for the defendant may also make an opening statement, although he is not required to do so. What the attorneys tell you during opening statements is not evidence in the case. It is only their contention as to what the issues are or what they believe the evidence may show. After opening statements, testimony will begin. It's your responsibility to determine the guilt or innocence of the defendant, and your verdict must be based solely on the evidence as it is presented to you in this courtroom during the trial and on the law as I instruct you during and at the close of the trial. The evidence in this case will be presented to you by the testimony of sworn witnesses from this witness stand and by exhibits that may be introduced into evidence. In determining what the facts are in this case, you must decide whether or not the testimony of the witness is believable. It will be my responsibility to rule as a matter of law as to whether certain testimony is admissible, meaning whether you get to hear it. But once the testimony is admitted, it is solely for you to determine the believability of the witness testimony. In deciding whether to believe a witness, you have the right to consider the interest of the witness, the bias of the witness, the prejudice of the witness, the opportunity for the witness to have seen the matters, the things about the witness may testify, and the way the witness acts on the witness stand. You have the right to consider anything that is in the record that will help you evaluate the testimony of the witnesses. That means you must pay close attention to the witnesses, observe the witnesses, listen to the witnesses, and pay close attention to the attorneys and to the court. Please don't let your thoughts wander and give strict attention to the testimony so that at the end, after all the arguments of counsel, my charge on the law, you will be in a position to determine what the actual facts are and to apply the law to those facts and render a verdict. From time to time, you may hear one lawyer say something like, Your Honor, I believe we have a question of law or a matter of law to discuss with you. Or, Your Honor, may we approach the bench? Or sometimes I myself might find it necessary to excuse you from the courtroom for a short while so the attorneys and I can discuss a matter of law. The reason for this is you are the judges of the facts. And sometimes when I'm discussing matters of law with the lawyers, it may be necessary for me to make some comment as to the facts in connection with a ruling or whether or not a particular law applies. I'm not supposed to tell you what the facts are, so I will excuse you from the courtroom while these discussions take place so that in no way will you be influenced by anything that I might say or do in connection with the facts. Ladies and gentlemen, sometimes that may seem a little frustrating for you, like we're wasting your time. You might be sitting back there in the jury room for 30 minutes while we're talking about the law. But I promise you we're working. I value your time just as much as I value mine. I don't want lawyers to waste your time. So, if you're back there, trust me, we're working. We're not talking about how bad the Gamecock baseball season was this year or anything like that. We're working. So, again, I value your time. Your time is no less important than any lawyer in this courtroom or mine. So understand that we value your time very much. Now, I need to appoint a Madam Clerk, will you please swear the jury?
Yes, sir, Your Honor. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, please stand and raise your right hand to be sworn. After this oath, please acknowledge my enter and ID. Do you swear or affirm that you shall well and truly try and true deliberate snakes between the state of South Carolina and the defendant at bar, whom you shall have in charge, and a true verdict give according to the law and the evidence, so help you God? You may be seated.
Okay, I need to appoint a fourth person, and ma'am, there next to Mrs. Cole. What's your number?
302.
302. Will you pick the magic chair? So you are our fourth person. It is going to be your added duty to manage deliberations and complete the verdict form, but I'll give you further instructions on that. You're not going to get paid anymore than your other lawyers, but you will be our foreman to the conclusion of the trial. Any exceptions from the state as far as what I just told the jury?
No, sir.
Anything from the defense?
Nothing on behalf of Mr. Chow.
Stay ready, Bro.Nasir.
We're ready, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
Please, the court.
Yes, it's listening.
Counsel, Mr. Kent, Mr. McCullough, Swirling. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, what is the value of a human life? To grieving parents who've lost a 14-year-old to senseless acts of violence, a human life is priceless. But on May 28, 2023, Rick Chow, the defendant in this case, determined that Cyrus Carmack Belton's life was worth less than 4 bottles of water. I say this because in May of 2023, Rick Chow, the defendant in this case, was the owner of a convenience store and gas station on the corner of Park Lane and Springtree here in Columbia. His wife was working that evening. She was a co-owner, and their adult son was working there as well that particular evening. It was around 8 o'clock or so p.m. that Cyrus Carmack Belton, a 14-year-old, walked into that store. And he had on a red hoodie with a small pocket in the front. He was carrying a black backpack. We know this to be true because the defendant in this case, Rick Chow, had an intricate camera system that captured almost every interaction within that store and multiple camera angles. He also had camera angles outside of the store on the premises of the store and immediately adjacent to the store so you could see what happened at the beginning of Springtree as his property ended. So Cyrus walked into that store, red hoodie, small pocket in the front, black backpack, and he walks in and he immediately is asked by the co-owner, Alice Chow, to remove his backpack. That's store policy. Cyrus complies, does exactly what he's asked to do. He puts that backpack on the cooler and begins to walk around and browse throughout the store. He goes aisle to aisle, browsing, looking around, looking at the candy, looking at waters, looking at other things in the store. And Alice is directly behind him watching everything that he does.
Exactly.
When he walks to the front of the store, she watches. When he walks to the side of the store, she watches. She leans against post and watches everything that he's doing as he walks through that store. Their adult son Andy is working the counter, and he's watching as well. And as other customers come in to buy things, he'll service them and continue to watch Cyrus as he walks through the store. Finally, Cyrus walks to that back right corner of the store. And again, we know this to be true because of that intricate camera system that Mr. Chow saw. He walks to the back. He opens a water cooler, leans the water cooler against his left shoulder, and takes out 4 bottles of water. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And after a second, he pauses and methodically puts all 4 water bottles back into that cooler. 1, 2, 3, and 4. He closes the cooler and begins to walk back towards the front of the store. And it's at that point that the verbal confrontation begins. And I say confrontation because Cyrus said nothing. The co-owner of the store, Alice Chow, asked if he needed help and eventually accused him of stealing water, told him to empty his pockets. The adult son, Andy, who was watching, said the same thing. You took some water. Give us back the water. Cyrus said, I took nothing. I didn't take anything. I didn't take anything. And they continued to verbally attack him, accusing him of stealing water. Interestingly enough, if you look at that intricate camera system, Cyrus is telling the truth. He took nothing from that store that day. As he tried to walk out of the store, they continued to verbally harass him to the point where he took his backpack and calmly walked out of the store. Again, we know that to be true because of that intricate camera system that Rick Chow installed. And as he walks toward that door, the co-owner, Alice Chow, says something in Cantonese that makes her son run around the counter towards Cyrus. And then Rick Chow, the defendant in this case, comes from out of an office in the convenience store, armed with a .45 caliber Glock pistol, and follows Cyrus out of that store. Cyrus walks out of the store, takes a right, slowly, and hears them yelling, running after him. Turns to see, and again, the camera system shows these things, and he takes off running. Cyrus tries to run through the parking lot to the point to where he runs out of his Air Force One Nike shoe. Runs out of his shoe. Doesn't turn around to pick it up because you have an adult male running behind you with a .45 caliber Glock pistol who has falsely accused you of stealing. So he runs. He drops 2 cell phones out of his pocket. We know this to be true because there are witnesses who we expect you'll hear from who talk about how they had to throw on brakes to keep from hitting them as they ran across traffic. We know this to be true because of that intricate camera system that he installed. He drops 2 cell phones. One belonged to him, one to his mother. Doesn't turn around to pick up one of those cell phones. Continues to run, falls down, gets back up running, falls again, busts his shin, drops the backpack, keeps running. In total, Rick Chow and his son chased Cyrus Carmack Belton over 130 yards off of their property onto a public road in Columbia, South Carolina. And eventually, after Cyrus fell a couple of times, Rick Chow fired the fatal shot, which ended his life. And folks, 130 yards is a football field. No, in fact, it's a football field goalpost to goalpost plus 10 yards. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I'm Byron Gibson, the 5th Judicial Circuit Solicitor. And I, along with Dale Scott, Stephanie Taylor, and Weston Leifer, represent the state of South Carolina. So for the next few minutes, I'm going to give you a little bit more of a roadmap of what this case entails, what our position is in this case, and what we believe we can prove, as well as give you an idea of what to expect from the court and how this proceeding will run for the next several days. Now, I mentioned to you a moment ago that when Cyrus walked into that store, he was wearing a red hoodie and a pocket in the front, black backpack. Unbeknownst to the Chow family, to Rick Chow, to Alice Chow, or to Andy Chow, he had a pistol in the front pocket of that hoodie. Unbeknownst. They didn't know. We know that to be true because that video will confirm all of those things. Confirm that he walked around the store, had a conversation with them. At no point did he ever threaten them. At no point did he ever curse them when he was being falsely accused. He didn't spit on them. He never attacked them. He calmly walked through the store and calmly denied stealing anything from that store, which again was true. The truth in this case.
And he calmly walked out of that store. He didn't run out the store. He calmly, casually walked out of the store. He didn't start running until they started chasing him. That's when he started running. And he didn't fire a shot. Didn't fire a shot. He was shot in the back. He dropped cell phones, didn't even turn to pick them up. But they're trying to make us believe that he turned and fired a shot. Nah, I don't think so.
Case is that Cyrus did what you'd expect an adult to do in that case. He walked away. He tried to create distance every time he was confronted. But for some reason, Rick Chow wouldn't believe him. He couldn't believe him for some reason, although the evidence was.
That's the racial component in the situation. The stereotypical racial component in the situation. And more than likely, that's in an area where it's predominantly our people. That's what they do. They'll set up shop where we're at, supplying the demand, and we like fools patronizing their business when we should just starve them out. Anybody that disrespectful to us, we should just starve them out, because if none of us go in their store, because I'm gonna tell you, their people don't shop in their stores when they put stores in our areas. You don't see Chinese people eating Chinese food. You'll never see Chinese people come in Chinese restaurants. It's always somebody else. So if they disrespect us, just simply starve them out. Don't patronize their business. Let them go sell their food to their people, which they can't do because their people don't come to their restaurants.
Will show that he took nothing from that store. The evidence will show that after they chased him out of his shoe, dropping phones around down Springtree Road, after he tripped over a curb, fell, dropped his backpack, we believe that gun spilled out of that pocket. And within moments after that gun spilled out of that pocket, that man shot Cyrus Carmack Belton in the back with a .45 caliber pistol. Now, we believe evidence will show that soon after, EMS and others came on the scene. Rick Chow tried to say, hey, I was defending my son. But the interesting thing about this process is that you're going to have an opportunity at the end of this case, that you've heard all of the evidence from this witness chair, to assess what you've learned and what you've heard. You get a chance to assess that. And I'll ask, as you start asking those questions that bounce around in your head, in what world do you get to falsely accuse a 14-year-old of stealing, chase a 14-year-old 130 plus yards down a road while you're armed with a pistol, shoot that person in the back, then claim you're defending your son? Folks, it's for that senseless act, for that ridiculous act, for that heinous act that
especially when you were the aggressor and you were the pursuers, there's no way you can say that you were defending yourself when you were chasing him. You chased him. How in any world is that self-defense? Probably this country, because white people do it all the time. They start shit, get their ass kicked, and then kill somebody. And then they say they fear for their life.
Rick Chow, the defendant in this case, has been charged and indicted with the crime of murder. And it's for that crime that we, the prosecution, Dale Scott, Stephanie Taylor, and Weston Leifer, will be asking that you return a verdict of guilty at the appropriate time. Now, as prosecutors, we have something that's called the burden of proof. And what that means is we have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Rick Chow murdered Cyrus Carmack Belton. Now, reasonable doubt in South Carolina, our courts have defined it a couple ways, and I'll explain those to you. Reasonable doubt is the amount of doubt that causes a reasonable person to hesitate to act. The amount of doubt that causes a reasonable person to hesitate to act. There's an alternative definition that says that if you are firmly convinced of the defendant's guilty, and at that point they are guilty of crime. But that's for you all as the jurors to decide. Now, as was mentioned a few moments ago, Judge Taylor is the judge of the law, and you've got to take the law as he gives it to you. So at the appropriate time, he'll advise you of the definition of reasonable doubt and every other legal standard and every other thing about the law that you're going to need to know. He'll advise you of those things at the end of the case at the appropriate time. But the cool thing about this process, just as he said, is that as Judge Taylor is the judge of the law, you guys are the judges of the facts. And you get to determine based on what you hear from this witness chair and the evidence that you observe, you get to determine what actually happened in this case. So you're probably asking, all right, well, how am I supposed to do something like that? How am I judging people about, as a witness? I suggest to you that just as you are judging my credibility and believability right now, that's a skill that you've developed over all these years that you've been walking this earth. I suggest to you that when you parked your cars this morning, you didn't leave your common sense in the parking lot. That's what you're using to assess credibility and believability. And that's what you'll be doing with each of the witnesses that comes up here. You'll judge that. You'll have an opportunity to determine if they had motive to say what they say, if they could observe the actual things that they're saying they observed. If they have some reason to change or to try to tell a story in a way that's going to help them, you'll get a chance to make those determinations at the appropriate time. And we'll ask that you do that. A couple moments ago, each of you guys took an oath to well and truly try the facts of this case. And what that essentially means is that you got to try the facts of this case, not some stuff that you may have heard out there, not some preconceived notions, not some ideas that you may have, but from the evidence that you hear in this jury room this week in this case. That's what you got to do. Folks, I ask that you resist the urge to turn this trial into some type of commentary about youth and guns, because it's not about that. It's about a grown man who falsely accused a 14-year-old of stealing, chased him down the road while armed with a pistol, shot him in the back, and then claimed he's defending himself. That's what this case is about. And ultimately, those are the decisions that you'll have to make at the end of this case. Now, I expect that you're going to hear from several different types of witnesses this week. Some are going to be what we call lay witnesses, just people who just happened to be driving up and down Springtree Road that day. Folks who saw what happened, folks who watched the child chase Cyrus across the street and shoot and kill him. We expect they'll have different vantage points, seeing things in different ways, but you'll have an opportunity to listen to them and assess what they saw. You'll hear from law enforcement, first responders, people who saw what happened and talked to witnesses out there on the street immediately after it happened. Some body cam, meaning the body cameras that they're wearing when they're talking. You'll see some of those things. Take that information. You'll also have an opportunity to hear from a few experts. And Judge will explain to you what experts are and what expert testimony is and how you weigh expert testimony. Again, take the law as he gives it to you. And take the law from experts and determine if they have the ability to testify about the things that they say that they know, and how they came upon this information, and if this information was paid for. Ask yourselves those questions at the appropriate time. Now, folks, you're going to hear about three types of evidence. I'm wrapping this thing up. I want y'all to get sick of me this early in the week. There are going to be three types of evidence you're going to hear about. One is direct evidence, second is circumstantial, third is stipulations. Direct evidence is evidence that you can see, that you can touch, that you can feel, you can sometimes even smell. Circumstantial evidence is evidence that you can infer exists based on a series of facts. All right? Evidence that you can infer exists based on a series of facts. So example, we're sitting in here, South Carolina, it's probably going to be 80, 90 degrees with 100% humidity. If you walk out here at lunchtime and you see snow outside, it's 12 degrees outside. You see icicles hanging off of the different the posts and all that kind of stuff. You see a snowplow going through here. You see penguin tracks and maybe a polar bear walk by. You are in this room with no windows all day, but you can infer that it snowed because you see all of the evidence of snow. That's circumstantial evidence. It's just as good as direct evidence if you, the jury, determine that you believe that that's what took place. So direct evidence, circumstantial evidence, and last we're talking about stipulations. Stipulations are agreements between our table of the state and that table of the defense team. They're stipulations. That means we have an agreement that a particular fact exists. And if we have that agreement and we alert judge that that agreement exists, then judge will have the opportunity to explain to you that that's not a fact that you guys have to haggle about or even argue about, because we agree that it's the truth. So direct, circumstantial, stipulations. Those are the three types of evidence we'll be talking about. And at the appropriate time, you'll have a chance to look at the facts of the case, and with the evidence, you compare that to the evidence and return a verdict that speaks the truth in this case. Now, my final ask of you is this. There's an 11th century philosopher named Omar Khayyam. And one thing that he wrote back then was, the moving finger writes, and having writ moves on. Nor all your piety nor wit shall lure it back to cancel half a line, nor all your tears wash out a word of it. Now, I know y'all are looking at me kind of like, what is this dude quoting some 11th century philosophy for? I'll tell you that at the end of this case, I will explain to you why something written back in the 1100s to 1200s rings so true today in this courtroom in 2026 about a case where that man murdered a 14-year-old in 2023. So folks, remember what we've talked about and ask yourselves one last question. What is the value of a human life? Thank you.
I'm going to end this right here for this evening, and I will be back, and we will resume right where we left off in this case. I want to thank everybody for coming through to hang out with me for a little while I present this Rick Chow convenience store owner charged with shooting 14-year-old, taking his life. Carmack Belton should be here now. He shouldn't have been in a young resting place at age 14 years old over some water that he didn't steal. A bloodthirsty, racist, gun-toting Asian took the brother's life for absolutely nothing. And hopefully he's on the penalty side of justice. And justice is rendered to him. Because this was not a self-defense situation. He was the aggressor, the pursuer. He was the judge, jury, and executioner in a matter of minutes. And he should, in my opinion, spend the rest of his life in prison. Until next time, I leave you as I came before you in the greeting words of peace. Like, share, subscribe. Leave a comment in the comment section. Peace.
Giving out instruction. Hey. I just keep it intact. This is a fact, right and exact. I won't step back. Admiration is the feeling that inspires your brain to make you gain self-knowledge, not go insane.